Welcome back. You have made it to Living Limitless. Play your way to freedom. We are here to connect with you. We're here to join with you as you connect, play, and awaken to your power, your freedom, and your expansiveness. I am Andrea Luzon, and I am so excited to introduce to you today Julia Schneider, or perhaps you already know her, but I'd love to tell you more about her. She is a holistic health and life transformation coach. She's helping to uplift happiness and well being on our planet. She specializes in helping women heal their nervous system so they can enjoy better health, deeper love, and greater success. You can check out her work more deeply at holisticselfcarecommunity.com. That's all one word, holisticselfcarecommunity.com. So, Julia, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad to have you, and just really want to share that I don't know. How about you, in your own words? Just tell us a bit about what inspires you to stay in this work, and more about what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to. And I'm so happy to be here. I just love talking to people like you and just sharing this information because you see, I find it to be so life changing that once you learn the information I'm going to be sharing with you here, like your life can change in ways you can't even imagine. It's really powerful. So, um, what inspires me to stay in this work is because I see how much it impacts people. Because when people come to me, they're typically really stressed out, anxious, and tired, and oftentimes burnt out. And then as we work, as we go through the process of coaching and just transforming their lifestyle, they wake up, they come alive, they become inspired, they have deeper relationships. And typically what I find is that they are able to follow their life path. Until we do this work, it's either their health is getting in the way or their emotional stability is getting in the way. But after we work together, all of those barriers are removed and people are able to move straight towards living their life exactly the way they're meant to be, and just self-actualize and become the real person they came here to be. So it's really inspiring for me. And in terms of the work itself, what I do is, just to summarize it, I work with childhood attachment theory, which
Mhm.
is, it basically addresses how we grew up,
Mhm.
uh, and what kind of pressures we experienced as children, and how it impacts us as adults.
Mm.
And there's four attachment styles. I'm actually happy. Do you want me to quickly summarize?
That sounds wonderful. Yes. So, four attachment styles in the
Yeah,
childhood attachment theory.
yeah. And
Thank you.
when you listen to this, I encourage you to sort of to see which attachment style you resonate with. So which one you
Wow.
think you have.
Mhm.
Okay, so just really quickly, so there's four attachment styles. One is called secure, and the secure attachment style is the ideal attachment style. That's when the child grew up in circumstances that were safe. The environment was safe. There was a lot of love, a lot of
Mhm.
stability, a lot of warmth. And children like this, when they become adults, they're typically really stable, really resilient, and they're able to navigate their life in a pretty peaceful way.
Mhm.
Then there is, it's called anxious attachment style. And in that circumstance, what happened in childhood is that, so the caregivers were there, they're very caring, and the quality of love was very healthy. But the problem is that it wasn't consistent enough. And so,
Mm.
for example, maybe it was a single parent who had to work a lot, so the
Mhm.
child didn't get a lot of as much attention as they needed. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe someone had a brother who wasn't well, so the parents had to give that person a lot of
Mhm.
attention. So basically, what happens is that that child gets almost obsessed with keeping attention on them. And as children like this grow up in adult relationships, they are very, very they feel very nervous in relationships, very anxious, and they feel that relationships are not very reliable. Um, so okay, so then the third attachment style, it's called avoidant attachment. And in this circumstance, the child grew up in a family where there wasn't a lot of emotional support,
Mm.
and so it wasn't satisfying. So being in a relationship, emotionally intimate with people wasn't very satisfying. So the child decides, okay, you know what? I don't really need anybody. I'm okay. I'll just do everything myself. And they sort of pull their attention in and they become very independent, which is great. But when they grow up, what happens in relationships is that they don't feel comfortable sustaining emotional intimacy with people.
Mhm.
So they often end up being in, serial monogamous relationships, or sometimes there's affairs. They're basically not able to stay, they're not able to be intimate, emotionally intimate
Mhm.
with that person. And the interesting thing is that oftentimes what happens is that anxious attachment attracts avoidant attachment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's a disaster. It's like it becomes a lot of drama, because like the avoidant person wants to avoid and the anxious person wants to connect, and it just happen. There's a lot of drama that happens. And then the fourth attachment style is called disorganized. And in that attachment, what happened to the child is they grew up in an environment that wasn't very safe. It wasn't, there might be, the parent might be aggressive in some way, yelling, or the other side of the spectrum, they might be, let's say the child does something and the parent just like disconnects, which is also very stressful for the child. So in that circumstance, what happens is that you move towards connection, but at the same time you move away from it because it's too scary. And on the inside, you just become very, very tense.
Wow.
So, and it sounds pretty, it's really serious, because as humans, we are designed, we're wired to connect. So if we are not able to interact with people in a way that is satisfying and healthy, it actually causes a lot of stress in our body, and that impacts our health, and that impacts our ability to progress spiritually, and just like thrive in our lives.
Mhm.
So that's sort of like a summary of what I do is I help people shift back to secure attachment, and transform all the childhood stuff and just become a resilient, healthy, and happy adult.
Wow. I think the whole world needs more of that. What Yes, what are those childhood traumas and how do we get to accept them and yet understand that that doesn't mean anything about our personal value? Yeah, that's what I hear you saying. That sounds amazing. Since the title of the series is Living Limitless, how do you feel? 'Cause I'm hearing such beauty in your work. And how do we live limitless? How do you bring that into your life or into your clients' lives?
Yeah, and well, and that's basically the progression of this work, is that by the time you I refer to it as metabolizing your history. So like
Mhm.
once you metabolize your history and you release it from your nervous system, you actually are you become very free. You become confident and strong and resilient, and when you feel that way, it's much easier to live your life without limitations. And if there are limitations in life, you have enough emotional intelligence to be able to transform and move past those
Mhm.
limitations. And the other cool thing that happens, as a result of this work, is that we oftentimes people who have insecure attachment, so basically an attachment that is other than secure, those people become very intuitive, because it's just a way to navigate life safely. So what happens is, so once you heal your attachment style and you move into secure attachment, you still retain this ability to be really intuitive. And what I know, like what I do in my own life, because you see, I used to have disorganized attachment, and
Mm.
I shifted to secure. I'm about 95% more secure than I used to be. But when I still was in disorganized attachment, I developed such strong connection to my intuition. I can read energy. I'm very, very tuned into the energetic field, because that was my way of surviving. And it really helped me to move through my childhood experiences. But now, in a state of security, I can actually use this intuition in amazing ways. That's how I do my business. That's how like I interact with people. So yeah, it's there's a lot of gifts that you can gain to help you live without limitations.
And that's really bringing forward the concept of play for me right now. Um, you've talked so much about childhood, and I know that as we move closer and closer to adulthood, and as we make those the childhood experiences, when we make them mean more and more about ourselves, it seems that we shift further and further away from the play mentality, or the playfulness that we had when we were really little. Do you have methods or ways that you incorporate play into your life so that you can step into greater power and freedom and expansiveness?
Yeah, I mean, I love to play. That's for me. I actually have, like, my motto is, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it.
I love that.
Yeah, and
I love
I think it's so important. And I actually want to encourage everybody, just give yourself permission to play. And play looks different for everybody,
Mhm.
just tune into your own heart and just ask yourself, like, what would be really fun to do right now, and just do it. Just do it. Why not?
Love it. I'm gonna make a poster that says, "If it's not fun, I'm not doing it." I love that. And I also love the challenge of, if you're feeling stuck, think of the first playful thing that you can do and just go do it. I think
Yeah.
that sounds like a very healthy practice, and it's making me smile. So that it sounds like an intuitive way to step back into our childlike nature.
Yeah, and actually, I wanted to add another thing. So you could, speaking of childhood attachment and all of that, you can actually tune in to your inner child. So the part of you that is younger. Like, tune into, let's say, a memory of yourself when you were 5. 5 or 10,
Mhm.
and just ask that version of yourself, what would she or he want to do right now? Like, how would you want to play? And just this way, you'll discover your own, like, sometimes when I do this, I actually discover things that I didn't realize, interests and hobbies that I actually didn't realize I had. And then when I tune into it, I'm like, oh yeah, I really do like that. Like, I want to try this out. So yeah, see what happens to you.
So is it important to pick a certain age, or when you experienced something detrimental?
No, you just kind of go back in your life, and you can even remember a time in your life when you had a lot of fun. So for
Mhm.
me, for example, when I was growing up in Russia, we used to go to the forest with my family. We would bike into the forest and pick mushrooms, and there's the forest lakes, so we swam in the lakes. That was just so fun for me. So I typically tune into that memory, and I ask the version of me that was the age. I think I probably was about like 6 or 7 or
Mhm.
so. And I almost have a conversation with her. I'm like, okay, well, I'm an adult now. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do right now? And she responds, and I just do that.
Wow, I love that. There are so many amazing exercises we can do with our inner child, and that sounds like the most playful one I've heard. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. I love that we get to talk about what tools and practices we are using in our work and in our personal lives. I think I love that everyone who has joined this series has been very vulnerable and real and open with sharing their stories. And so I'm a bit curious, do you feel as though your evolution to this line of work was a slow progression, or like a lot of people who come into the transformation, life transformation work, was there a breakdown to reach your breakthrough to get here?
Yeah, there was a breakdown.
Yeah.
There was a breakdown. What happened? So I used to be a personal trainer. My second career was personal training. I loved it. I had so much fun. It was great. But what happened is that I burnt out. About 4 years into my career, I burnt out, and actually I couldn't figure out why. Because as a health professional, because I actually have a degree in kinesiology and health sciences,
Mhm.
and I was implementing everything that I learned, and I still burnt out. And for me, it was the beginning of an inquiry because it made no sense to me.
Mhm.
So, and then I went to the Western medical doctor, my family doctor basically, and
Mhm.
he said that I'm fine and that, like, who knows why. Basically, like, he completely dismissed the burnout, and so I couldn't find help there. So I started researching,
Mhm.
and lo and behold, what did I find? The attachment style. That's actually how I came across this theory in the first place. Is that as I kept digging deeper, I
Mhm.
realized that what caused the burnout was the fact that I had the disorganized attachment, meaning that there was just so much stress in my relationships that my body was not able to sustain health because it's just too much. Yeah, and that's as I healed my own attachment style and I saw what's possible when
Mhm.
you have a healthy nervous system, it was a no-brainer. I really wanted to help other people to have the same experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow, that sounds, yeah. So the breaking down and you got curious about it, especially
Mhm.
when Western medicine was just like, you're fine, go
Yeah,
back to work, shake it off.
yeah,
Did
it was.
they,
So yeah,
uh,
so I
was there
just
any attempt at prescriptions? It seems that a lot of times Western medicine is like, here's a pill.
he didn't he didn't even like he didn't even bother with prescription. He just said, no, you're fine, like, go home. Okay. I was like, well, I'm not fine. I can't sleep. I'm so tired because after I burned out, I was so tired I couldn't even move my arm. Like, I was literally lying in bed. I had to almost drag myself out of bed to get to the doctor. I was like, okay, well, he obviously doesn't understand what's happening for me, so it's up to me to figure
Mm.
out what's going on.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love the resilience I'm hearing in that story. Amazing. So, since you have all of this experience with the body and now with the mind and the soul, the spirit, would you be open to sharing with us? First of all, when I say the word trigger, what does that mean to you? And do you have ways that you move through triggers, or that you help your clients move through triggers?
Yeah. Triggers, I think all of us have them, right? uh,
Yes. But sometimes
yeah.
I feel like it's a colloquialism, like it's an in this genre. But so yeah, what do you tell us more about what you think that like what does that mean for the common individual? What is a trigger?
I think a trigger, like, on the fundamental level,
Hmm.
a trigger is us being afraid that our reality is somehow wrong. So
Hmm.
in a way, it's almost like I call it psychic death. Psychic death, meaning that, okay, so for example, I have a certain opinion and someone else comes in and they have like a totally different opinion and they are saying that my opinion is wrong and
Hmm.
they're right. So for me, it's almost like an assault on my reality, right? Like on my
Yeah.
ability to conceptualize reality. So I think that's why people get really triggered. Or
Mhm.
another reason people get triggered is because safety is being compromised.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like, let's see. I mean, gosh, in my childhood, I had so many experiences of safety being compromised, and it's really the nervous system response. It's
Hmm.
it's the nervous system way to keep you safe. So that's what I think what a trigger is. Now, in terms of how to navigate triggers, so the way I navigate it is, first of all, I need to take a deep breath, because like I know that if I'm triggered, I oftentimes I could say things that
Mhm,
I will regret later,
mhm.
and sometimes I don't even remember what I say because it just comes out so fast that, like I have there's no time to filter right. So what I do now is, as soon as I start feeling this energy in my body, like, you know what it feels like, right? It's kind of like kind of like,
Yes.
so as soon as I feel that, that's my cue. Take a deep breath. If I need to take 3 deep breaths, I can do, so basically take as many breaths as you need to calm yourself down enough to be able to understand what's actually going on. Because when we get triggered, it goes to our nervous system, and our nervous system gets responds really fast.
Mhm,
So we want to slow it down, and then I acknowledge my feelings. I basically, well, first I connect with my feelings. I ask myself, okay, well, what's going on?
mhm,
Like, what are you feeling right now?
mm,
And what do you need? So I ask myself that. I acknowledge that for myself, and by that time I'm typically relaxed enough to diffuse
mhm.
the situation.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage other, my clients and anyone who's listening to do that as well. It's basically like to slow down enough to be able to respond to the trigger from our adult self versus from, you know our child self, like our kind of primitive self.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's so interesting because I've heard a couple of, well, I feel like exactly what you're saying is, I heard a neurologist talk about, the back of the brain is the fight, flight, or freeze, and a lot of times, and then up here is kind of like the logic, the reasoning. Maybe this is like the secure, the adult, and then back here is like the trauma, the misbeliefs about ourselves. And what I'm hearing you say is, if we can get calm and get centered back into ourselves, ask ourselves what we need, then we get to then we get to get out of this, like, like the monkey brain back here, and move back into the, responding like an adult, responding like a secure person, an authentic, secure person.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love how you describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, someone else described it as a rainbow. Like, you just jumped to the back of your brain, and you're wanting to fight, you're wanting to run, or you're just panicking. So that, like, to visualize almost like a rainbow. And so I love the way that you put it, that when we're back there, we're responding as that, like, wounded child, or we can make a choice and calm down and respond as the secure adult.
Yeah, and it's both, it's both the, programming from childhood, but it's also our, like, so our brain has 4 levels. There's a reptilian, sorry, 3 levels: reptilian, mammalian, and like the latest layer that was
Mhm,
added to the brain is the gray matter. So like that's the that's the part of the brain that actually can rationalize and
mhm,
be, objective. But what happens in a trigger is that our reptilian brain gets activated. So unless you slow yourself down, like unless you slow down this response of like like either, fight, flight, or freeze, you're actually acting like a lizard, right? Like a
I'm gonna
reptile.
use that visual as well.
Yeah.
Lizard brain.
And then as you calm yourself down, then you can expand into the mammalian brain, which is more
Mm,
caring. And then if you come down even more, then you can actually use your gray matter, which is the brain that makes us human. That's what makes us human.
mhm. I like that. It's fun. It's so fun, hearing all the different ways, all the metaphors we can use, and all the neurological, scientific, Western medicine, it's just really fun to talk about that, and then the logic. Yeah, wonderful. So I love that you have shared some tools, that someone can actually use a step process. And for our viewer, is there any piece of your work that you are feeling called to demonstrate or walk us through today?
Yeah, sure. So it's a very simple exercise. You could actually do it. I mean, if you're interacting with a person who triggered you, it's probably going to be a little bit challenging to do it in front of them, but you can do part of it. Or if you're on your own, you can do it the whole thing. So what you do is you want to put your hand on your heart,
Hmm.
and then you're going to relax your tongue and allow it to drop to the floor of your mouth. So completely relax your tongue and just take 5 breaths. So with your hand on your heart and just have your tongue relax. And just one more breath. And just slowly coming back and just notice how you're feeling right now. Typically, what happens is that our body just settles. It feels like just this relaxation, and all is well, and everything is okay. And and the good news that this is exactly what our body is meant to feel all the time. This is how we're supposed to feel all the time. And if you experience, like, if you're in a state that is not this calm, that typically indicates that your attachment is not as secure as it could be. There's, basically, there's some work you can do to make yourself more secure. Because when you're secure, you're really calm. So how was it for you, Andrea?
I feel it's funny, right? When you said your body, normally you would feel like your body settles because the exact phrase that came was, I feel very dropped in.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Yeah. Which like feels like settled. I feel, yeah, I just felt like I kind of just settled back into my body instead of like up here in the mind.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and the reason it happens is because so our tongue has nerve endings that travel, to the brain and then to the nervous system. And when your tongue is relaxed, it sends the nervous system a message that you're safe.
Mm.
And the same thing happens when you put your hand on your heart. It's the same thing. It's your body knows that if you were running away from a tiger, for example, you would not have your hand on your heart and your tongue would not be relaxed. And so, so that is, it's a very quick way
Mhm.
to calm yourself down.
I think that was great. Thank you for that demonstration and for dropping me back more in my heart center. I definitely appreciate that. And I hope our viewers appreciated that. As long as you don't do it when you're driving. Um,
Driving.
right. At least not with the eyes closed, but the rest of it. Yeah, I really like that. The dropping the tongue down from the roof of the mouth, letting that relax. 5
Mm,
deep breaths and hand on heart.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I can do that.
Yeah, well, I actually do that. I do
Yeah.
sometimes, especially in traffic.
Oh,
So on one hand, yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, I feel better.
mm,
Yeah.
I think I can do that. So in your personal life, is this one of the practices or what practices do you have daily or morning or night? What practices help you stay in an awakened, expansive state?
I do. There's a variety of things that I do. My number one thing is going to nature, just immersing
Mhm.
myself in nature. Being surrounded by trees and
Mm.
water and birds. Birds singing. Oh my gosh, it just
Mhm.
completely. It feels as if my energy, like when I'm at home, for example, in front of a computer, my energy feels kind of like entangled a bit, kind of
Mhm.
like it's buzzing. When I go outside into nature, it feels like the entire energy field is clears up, just clears up, and
Mhm.
everything settles, and I feel really calm. And I receive so much, like so many downloads, intuitive downloads. It's amazing. I love it. I actually, that's how I work actually. When let's say if I need to create a program or some sort of, I don't know, offering, I don't think about it. I go into nature and I start walking, and about 15 minutes into the walk, I start downloading like the entire program, the entire thing downloads, and when I come back home, I just type it up and it's ready. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's just one way to sort of stay in the zone of I guess intuition and awakenedness.
Right. We talked about that earlier. Awakenedness. Right.
Yeah. So
Is
that's
is there a minimum number of times that you like do you have a best day when you have gone out into nature a certain number of times?
honestly, I go almost every day. I can't not be in nature. I just grew up in almost, not like literally in the forest, but I
Mm.
just spent a lot of time in the forest as a child, and for me, it's just so important. So I would I would say the more you can do it, the better.
Mhm.
There's no maximum, and the minimum is at least once a week, I
Yeah,
would say.
right.
I
Aim for
wouldn't.
once a day at least, or
Yeah,
once a week if you if you can do that. I hear you. I do. We're having winter right now where I am, and there is a little bit less. There's a little bit more barrier in the sense that you're putting on more layers of clothing. You have to kind of go find the mittens, find the hat to find the. Whereas when the weather is a little more pleasing, it does seem more. I feel as though I'm more apt to just put on tennis shoes and walk out the door
yeah,
versus versus all the like, scarf, you know,
yeah.
jacket.
Yeah, I'm like that too. Like I'm not a fan of winter, but I just, it's really important. And it's also, aside from the energy piece, it's also really healthy because you breathe fresh oxygen, a lot of fresh
Mhm.
oxygen. And when your body is stable and happy and safe, it's so much easier to connect with, you know, spirit and
Mhm.
intuition, and just like to shift into this higher vibration thinking
Yeah,
than when it's struggling.
that resonates.
Yeah, like, and so that's one thing. And I like to paint. So like, for example, in the winter, or I paint so much, I just paint. And it's called transformational painting. So it's almost like a process to connect with my emotions and my creativity and my ideas. So yeah, so I would say just do something creative. Being creative
Mhm.
automatically shifts you into a higher state of awareness and openness.
Mm. So whatever that looks like for the person, including for you, it's painting.
Yeah.
Mhm. And the transformative process, are there steps to that? Or do you just find that if you look at a blank canvas or paper with no intention, that you find that you get to shed some emotions?
No. So there's this specific process. The way it works is, so you connect with your intention.
Mhm.
So whatever it is, and you write it on the canvas.
Ah, okay.
Then I just finished the painting. I have about 20 layers on that painting. Yeah, and so basically you get your intention, and then you just what I do is I take out my paints, and I just look at them, and I'm like, okay, well, which paint wants to go in the canvas, and I just choose that, and whatever shape wants to create itself, I just create that, and I just follow. So the canvas tells me what it wants me to do, and that's like, it's not me doing it, it's the canvas. I just follow what I perceive I'm being asked, and in that process there's just so many amazing just awarenesses that open up, and it's really, really, really cool.
I love that. That's interesting. I have painted walls in my house, and well, I've probably painted every wall in my house. And I have really found it really moving to, with the paint color you're going to paint, to write, some intentions on the wall in the paint. And then you get to go and, blend all of that in. I love, like prosperity, abundance, love,
Oh,
and, you're painting it into the walls. I love that.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
like walls, just like, the energy of the word just comes off the. I love that. That's such a. You
Mm.
know what? I think I'll do that.
Yay. I'll do yours, you do mine. There we
Yeah.
go. And you call it transformative painting?
Transformational painting.
Transformational painting. I love that. It really does sound like, I mean, not necessarily a shedding. It doesn't always have to be a shedding. Because, if you did write love, for example, then, then that gets to come out of you and onto the canvas or the paper. So
Yeah, I love
pretty.
that. And actually, that, like as an example. So let's take love as an example. So let's say you want to find your partner,
Mhm.
or maybe, I don't know, maybe you have a child and you want to have a closer relationship with the child.
Mhm.
So that could be the intention. And then when you paint, you keep this inquiry in your mind. And as you paint, you'll see, it's like you'll receive so much information, so many insights, and maybe new questions will come up.
Mhm.
It's really interesting process.
I love that. I love that. Write that down as an example. That's a whole nother interview that we can do where we talk about our relationship with our children. Okay, so am really excited to have our viewers here, and have them get deeper access to you, deeper access to your work. And so I would love to find out how we can access any gift or perk that you're sharing with our audience today.
Hmm. So there's going to be a link to a PDF. I basically created a information document about which summarizes the attachment styles. And
Mm,
then the second part of the document is ideas how to heal your attachment style. So how
mm.
to become more secure. So um, and that's something I think you're going to post it in on the page, right?
Yes, that will be directly below this video. There should be an audio file if you want to listen hands free, and then there will be the link to access Julia's gift that she's sharing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm actually one of those people I like to do post-its, whether it's affirmations or reminders for things or work that I've done. Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people who likes to paste things around my entire house. And so I love the idea of the PDF that you're sharing in regards to the childhood attachment styles and how to shift through them back to the secure style. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So to end, I'm feeling as though there's someone watching right now whose life is going to shift dramatically. They're going to get to transform in the direction that's going to serve their highest good after they work with you, Julia. What would you like to say to that person?
Hmm. I want to say, first of all, I'm so proud of you for wanting to do this work and for persevering and having the confidence and the courage to, to just step to the next level of your potential. And I just want to promise you that once you're on the other side, once you're secure and your nervous system is healthy and stable, oh my God, your life is going to be it's just going to be incredible. It's just going to be more amazing than you probably can imagine right now. So I just want to encourage you to keep going and don't give up, and you'll get there.
I love that. I definitely get this strong sense from you of I can hear your enthusiasm. I can tell just that working with you would be very supportive and enthusiastic. I'm just getting a strong sense of a supportiveness and also like a joy and a positivity that not everyone has that. So I can see that that's a huge perk in working with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really love doing it because like for me, it's seeing what the person is becoming. It's like it's almost like it feels like I see like this beautiful flower just like gradually opening. Oh, it's amazing. I really love
Mm.
that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I hope you are interested in connecting with Julia, taking advantage of the gift that she's offering, reaching out to her if you are ready to go deeper. And I look forward to you joining us next time. This has been Living Limitless, Play Your Way to Freedom with Andrea Luzon. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.